Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ears to the East, our
Yeah.
little format where we talk about all things Eastern music. All right. Today's topic is TRiDENT, Spice X, their new mini album. And today I'm joined by my lovely co host, Howard, aka Baka Broadcast,
You're pointing the
aka
wrong way.
Baka Reactions, aka The Waffle, known about, known for his wafflings
Don't know
across
what
the
you're talking
lands.
about. I don't know what you're talking about. I give you one chance to do the intro and you use it to slag me off for talking too much.
If I have the chance for once.
It's like the one chance you've had to speak in the last year.
All right. So,
All right.
yeah, we've listened to, I've recently listened to, don't know when you listened to it, but new mini album, Spice X. What are your opinions? Where do you want to start with this?
I mean, so yeah, I mean, I think it's become one of those things where I think it's always important to be honest. And ever since like back in the girls rock band Kakumei days, I had been following them and saying, look, I think this band's got the potential. I was like, this is a band I'm really rooting for, but it's not quite there yet. And then TRiDENT started and I was like, it's getting better. It's not quite there yet. And then there was just this space where I was like, around about when DX came out, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think it's there. I think this band is for real. This band like hit that point. They're prioritizing songwriting. They always have. The musicianship's great. They're not scared to experiment. And they've just been on this furious roll of brilliant music. And yes, they are doing mini albums, but the creativity never stops. And yeah, so I got to be honest. I got to hold up my hands and say that I try to be no bias, but I'm a bit of a TRiDENT fan. I'm all on the hype train. The hype train is in the station, and I am fucking conducting. I tell you that right now. And this new album, in my opinions, it had its better and its worst songs, but as far as I'm concerned, it 100% lived up to what I wanted. I have some notes, but lived up to what I wanted. I'm kind of intrigued because you're approaching this from a very different angle, really, I suspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not such a long-time fan. I mean, TRiDENT is actually one of the earliest groups I've discovered with Advanced Generation. But yeah, also I had like a similar feeling to you. I did like it, but I thought, yeah, not quite there yet. But I really enjoyed all these mini albums they did. But it's exactly like you said, all of those, they kind of have songs that I really love and other songs that, I mean, they are still good, but it's always a really interesting mixture and kind of a similar mixture with all their mini albums. Maybe we can get into that later, like mini albums in general. But yeah, I think Spice X so far is my favorite of all of those.
Really.
Yeah.
I got to be honest.
And
I was weighing that up. I'm still unsure. The funny thing is that everything they've released before these last three mini albums, it was like every time I was like, that's better. It's better. These three mini albums. Now I know there's a lot of staff involved, and they have like producing stuff coming for various songs. But I feel like these three mini albums have set something of a consistent standard. I would be struggling if I was honestly trying to pick one that was the best one of the three.
yeah, I guess it comes down to personal taste. But to me, this latest one, Spice X, it had some. I'm not sure how to say that exactly, but it felt in a way a little bit toned down, or maybe like the synth part of it. It wasn't as frantic as they sometimes go. That's also why I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Like, which one is your favorite songs, and which ones don't you like as much? Because I have a clear favorites, and one song that clearly is more, in my opinion, their older style, which I don't like as much.
Now that's very interesting because I don't know whether I should say first or ask your opinion because I have something of similar opinions. Now I dropped I'd reviewed like Bite the Bullet when it came out. I saw Be With You live when they premiered it, so there's no point for me to do a reaction. But then the other tracks I did reactions to, so I've kind of got a very mixed output of my opinions on this album. So, and I've also had a bit of time to digest it. I would say, okay, so if we go through it by track, maybe that's the best approach. So
let's do that.
The initial track, so basically when I walked into this one, I remember, so if you like my prior bias before listening to this album, is that I very much enjoyed a lot of TRiDENT's more direct songs like Destination in the past and stuff like that, and even Continue. But I've also had a lot of love for their more produced, insane songs, because I just get this feeling, and I know we discussed this before, that like TRiDENT have like got the balls to do those songs where they'll throw in like insane, like glitched out production and stuff. And I know you've got like Pale Dusk and all that helping with that. But it's like, I know some people hate that, but for me it's like, well, look, why not? Fuck it, no one else doing it. Well, no one else doing it as well. And then really making it work. But I know that there had been this big division in TRiDENT fans. I remember when I saw them live, I remember walking out of the venue and hearing some people, for everyone who was like, I love it, I remember hearing a couple of people like, oh, I like them, but there's too much of that like synth stuff and the production stuff, and people like, I wish they went back to their
like regarding certain songs or a certain release.
No, they were walking out of the venue talking about the gig.
But what did they play on the gig?
They played quite a wide selection. I actually heard these guys, and I walked up and I spoke to them because I was intrigued at what they said. And they didn't overly defend their opinion, but they gave a rather interesting opinion. We had a little bit of a chat for a couple of minutes. I didn't want to be overbearing. It's already weird enough that I just walked up to people like, what are you saying? But I was nice, I swear. But yeah, so anyway.
Weird Westerner.
Well, no, they were Western as well. I should point out they were Western as well. It's like a French guy and an American guy. Hi, by the way, if you're watching this. But the thing is that, like, as a general, so I gathered there was a fairly split opinion. So anyway, we go in with the first song, Spice. And it's not like they were trying to hide the fact that they were we're going to fuck around with some sound effects again. It's like, it starts off with that spoken intro. Which you pointed, tell me what you told me, because you pointed out something very interesting just before we went live, and my mind was like,
I didn't realize this like when I heard the song the first time, but it's actually really obvious a connection to the Powerpuff Girls, because when you ever watched Powerpuff Girls, the intro, exactly that whispering that we hear in the beginning, like the ingredients for the Powerpuff Girls, it's sugar, spice, and everything nice, plus the chemical X. Which,
you said
Spice X. It's, in my opinion, it's a really obvious connection to the Powerpuff Girls, or even the album art with the pot and the mixture.
And the Powerpuff Girls, it's 3 girls.
Yeah,
3 cartoon girls. So
and actually, like the main singer, she kind of reminds me of Bubbles, the blonde one.
So there you go. I mean, I had not made that connection till literally like a couple of minutes before we pressed record when you mentioned that to me, and it's so you're so right. Like the chemical X thing, Spice X, spice, sugar and spice, all things nice. That was again. It was one of those details I didn't even notice that, but I just kind of enjoyed this song. I remember when I did my reaction to that song. I remember saying, "Look, it's cheesy." But I like it because if any band's going to pull off cheesy, it's going to be TRiDENT. Because they don't take themselves too seriously. They really don't.
I was actually wondering, because I think at one part in this crazy bridge that's in the song, there's actually a trumpet, and it might even be like an acoustical throwback to Powerpuff Girls, because they have this trumpet line in their intro.
Please
I'm not
tell
sure
me that's what it is.
That's actually what it is, but could be.
We got to prove that. We got to prove that. I do not know. We got to check that. Because I remember when I was listening to it as well, the trumpet bit came in. I just remember going, that's there now. It's like, I mean, but you know, it's
okay.
Again, I think, we shouldn't work on precedent when we review music. I get that. Every band should have the chance to release anything they want. But when certain bands release stuff, you just kind of know this band has fun. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they're open to ideas. So, like, that's one of the things when you listen to a new TRiDENT album, your ears are open to like, well, look, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get. And that's kind of nice.
That's why I love it also.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. You kind of feel like, oh, okay, trumpets come in. And it's not a case of like, what the fuck? It's a case of, okay, we're doing trumpet. Does it work? Kind of does.
It's like TRiDENT is one of those groups where they can just throw anything in. And I will say, why not?
Yeah.
That's like my Howard is drinking, so I have to keep talking until he's done chugging that whole.
I need my water.
No, but really, like the unexpected things, we will also get to. Maybe we should move on to the next song,
Yeah.
or the next songs, because yeah, there's more unexpected stuff on this album, and that's kind of why I love these TRiDENT the mini albums, because you kind of know what you're getting into, but always it's surprising you. And
Well,
Spice, this song, definitely the twinkle or the spoopy from the other albums,
yeah.
like that
I,
song from this.
I didn't actually check, but I would. So the same guy did the production for both Swoopy and Twinkle, two songs that I love. So I don't know. I haven't checked, but I would not be surprised if he did this one as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, do you know? I just love that because for a band who they must be aware that some people have been a little bit twitchy about their heavy production songs. That's balls out. It's like the very first song in the album is like, here, have all the fucking production we have, deal with it.
But like, I don't think like they always were pretty production and synth heavy. So in my opinion, it's not like they changed it really.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, I think they're carrying still a little bit of the weight of the girls' rock band Kakumei thing. I mean, it must be said that they unlisted, and I think they might have removed, but I think they unlisted a lot of the old girls' rock band Kakumei music videos because I think in a way they didn't want to be overly tied to that image. And I had some people contact me about it, like some people in my community contact me about it, asking what I thought about it. And it's like, yeah, okay, no one wants to see a band's history suddenly disappear from the internet, but there can be a point where you're like, well, look, they were very young and they've kind of decided what they are now, and so they want to be judged on what they've made themselves rather than what they perhaps were. Um, sometimes you're like, I get to a certain age, I've worked out what I want to be, and it's like, so can I just be that now rather than you constantly asking me to be something I was before? I think the very thing of, I mean, let's face it, they changed one member, well, okay, two members, but realistically, they changed one member, and they changed the entire band name. It just felt to me like they really wanted to be something new. But yeah, there are
Yeah.
still a lot of people who were
But I think
aware
it's
of what
enough
they
to
were
do a
before.
rebranding. You don't really have to. If you do it rebranding, then it's a new thing. So I don't think you have to remove your old stuff.
Yeah, I agree, but I also agree that when you're talking about a band who are so, I mean, like I so as you know, when I'm doing like images for like the art, like for we do on these videos, I get like images and put them up. Usually what I do to avoid copyright problems is I go through the band's social media. The idea being is if they post it, they present it themselves. It's therefore it's just something you can talk about with the band.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was getting some images for a TRiDENT video. And I was in Asaka's one, and I just scrolled back a couple of years, and I was looking at her, I was like, just a few years back, I was like, oh my God, you look like a child. I was like, you were really young. And it's that image that it's like, a lot of the stuff they did when they started out, they've really grown up through this industry, which means that there's a lot of stuff they did when they started out, which was maybe just them finding their field, them being children. And I'm sure there's plenty of us who, if we could have hit the reset button at some point during our teenage/20 years, we would have done it. And I feel like that's what they're doing. They're saying, okay, we've worked it out now. We know what we want to be. Can you just let us be that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I just don't think you have to like discard your past. You can
I
still live with your past and move on and become something else,
I agree, but then again, I'm not a woman in her 20s, and so I can't imagine
What's
what goes
that
through
supposed to
their head.
mean?
Well, I'm just gonna say I've met women in their 20s before, and they're not always the sort of people you want to argue with. So
Well,
it's
okay.
like, they know what they want. Just leave them alone. So I get that. Yeah, but I mean, I basically I agree with you. I'd love all this stuff to be around. But the point I was more trying to make is that I think in a way they like this high production thing. They like these complicated, mad arrangements, and so they don't want to be held to, oh, just be what you were before. I think they want to say, look, we're not that anymore with this. I don't know. That's just the feeling I get, and I feel like this album's kind of like throws that very much at you. But of course, that comes on to the next track. Bite the Bullets, the second track, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the lead single. Realistically, that was the first single. That single came out while they were still touring. They were still touring for fucking Dream Up. It's like so confusing. It's like they're on the Dream Up tour and they've already got the single for Spice X out. But all right.
So I have a question about the Bite the Bullet, because it's marketed as TRiDENT X Rainbow Six Siege, which is a video game.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Um, so I'm not going to get.
Because how can you do a collaboration with a video game? Musically, it's not really possible.
This is a weird area, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious about how deep I get into this. I want to get some comments, but basically, my knowledge is so TRiDENT have worked a lot with the video game industry in the past. So they've played at video game conventions and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of bands appeal to the anime scene, TRiDENT very much are directed towards the video game scene. And so, like a lot of their music, I don't really play any of these modern games, so I don't really know. But I'm assuming their music is used in video games and stuff. And so that seems to be where some use anime. That seems to be their main marketing direction. Now, so yeah, it's not like there was the sounds of Rainbow Six gunfire in Bite the Bullet or anything.
Yeah.
It was more. I suspect it's just like they did the song Versus. I think that was also tied in with a similar video game franchise. I think the idea is they're basically saying, well, look, we wrote this for this video game. We wrote it because we were tied in with it.
That's kind of how I interpreted it, but it's kind of weirdly marketed with this. Yeah, like a collaboration, like all these collaborations we're getting right now. But yeah.
What did you think of Bite the Bullet then? I'm kind of intrigued. What was your opinion on that one?
I think I kind of do like the song. It's a bit more, I think I said in my reaction, the infamous word, a bit more mainstream.
I think that's fair.
I mean, it's the single of so I think it's kind of to be expected, but I think it's still, very nice vibe. I overall enjoyed this, even though it's not one of my, I have two favorite ones, which is Spice and another one, and then I have
I can't wait. I'm not going to ask
middle
yet,
ones,
I can't wait.
Which is Bite the Bullet and another one. And the one I like the least.
You nearly said hate.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. So
I think, still a really nice song. I don't like it as much as Spice, but I don't think it would work to have every song like as crazy as Spice.
I think when like Bite the Bullet came out, I don't remember my review exactly, but my basic opinion of that. Because when that came out, like Asaka was doing the Epiphones replays, Gibson thing. She was working really hard on that. Nagisa was just starting to work on the BP's thing where she was doing the covers with Fami, which we didn't see at the time, but there was like social media stuff. She was clearly busy on things. It was very weird because I was just really surprised they released a single at all. And when the single came out, I got to be honest, that Bite the Bullet, I don't know if I would necessarily describe it as mainstream, but it felt quite...
More mainstream than the other songs.
Yeah, well, I guess it felt more like a safe TRiDENT single. It just felt like TRiDENT just doing, it's like, this is fairly safe. But the funny thing is that in a way, I suspect I probably...
Isn't that mainstream?
Well, I guess it's safe for your audience might not be safe for the mainstream, but yeah, maybe a bit.
Yeah, okay, I see that point, yeah.
I think when I initially heard it, I maybe didn't give it the benefit of a doubt, but then the more I heard it, I was like, actually, this is a really good rock song. And I think I was maybe a bit harsh on it on first listen. And then the more I listened to it, I was like, actually, this is much better than I gave it credit for. So, yeah, it's not like a blow your socks off kind of song, but it's actually a pretty solid rock song. It's a solid rock song by the standards of a band who already have the bar set very high, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think we kind of...
I think it really won me over the duration of the song even. Because I think it really adds a lot of energy towards the end. And, love it.
Yeah, no, it does ramp up in the end. But what track is next?
What track is next? Nocturne? Do you say it like that?
Oh,
Nocturne.
I wonder,
Nocturne.
Do you say it like that? I wonder if we could ask Mr. Chopin.
All right. I saw your video title for the reaction. I haven't watched it yet, but I didn't catch that in my reaction.
Can we be
honest?
Can we get into this? Can we get into Nocturne?
Yes, please.
I
mean, once
I
saw
talk
that,
about this.
It kind of makes sense. I connected this with a Christmas vibe, but I think it's probably because like during Christmas when I was younger, my parents played a lot of classical music, and this might be played then. Yeah.
Okay. So this song is the melody and everything is built, structured very much around the melody of Chopin's Nocturne. So it is an exact like homage to his piece. And I couldn't remember the name of
Yeah.
the piece when I first heard it, and then I had to dig it, and I found out. I was like, okay, that's what it is. And big thanks to the community when I was like immediately jumped on. I was like, wait a second, I need to remember the name of this song, and they immediately got that for me. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece of classical music. And hearing the way that they played it here, like, because the song starts off as a pop punk song. It sounds like a Green Day song when it starts off, and I was like, well, this is
Yeah.
kind of fun. After the last two songs we had, they're going to go super raw. It's like, okay, it's going to be a super raw pop punk song. But I was like, this
That's
melody
what I
sounds
meant with
familiar.
the unexpectedness.
Yeah, and then that chorus, just
Yes.
suddenly,
I really love this song, I have to say. This song, it's, at first it was it's kind of a cheesy vibe a little bit, It's a weird vibe, but I absolutely love it. It's
so
kind of weird because like you, I thought like how the song started, yeah, this is gonna go very energetic, very raw, like you said, but it's kind of the opposite. And such a spacey sound in this the little guitar lines in between. It works perfectly in my opinion. I really love this song. This and Spice are my favorites
it's like
from the album. Yeah,
behind the
definitely.
actual solo, there's other guitars behind just doing like this soulful.
Yeah,
It's like holy shit, this is
exactly.
so. It's like yeah, that was it. I must ask for you because
Fantastic song.
I have you posted your reaction to this one yet, or has that one come out yet
This
on your
one
channel?
will come tomorrow, I think.
All right, so by the time this is posted,
Like when we record this. Yeah.
okay, so it may or may not be up. I mean, check either way. Obviously, react to Matt. Links below. But like, I really want to see your reaction because the thing is when it built up to the chorus, I was like, oh, okay, I was still thinking pop song, and I was like this, and I was waiting for the chorus, and I was expecting like a big belted out vocal line, and it's like, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Da. I was like, hold on, what? And it was just sudden
I'm
realization.
interested to hear the original classical piece now.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I love the song even though I didn't know it's connected to this, but
It
even
is.
better.
Not only is it's one of the most beautiful movements of classical music, it's just very calming. And just the way they did it. And what I can't get over is the fact that it worked so well in a song that at first had me like, oh, it's going to be a pop punk song. This is like full on skateboards, backwards baseball
I gotta
caps
say
kind of music.
though, the end of the song, you have that vibe that I thought we will get throughout the whole song. Like the
Yeah.
really energetic, really raw stuff, but it's only the end. And I was thinking, okay, I would also love to hear like the song in that raw style.
Well, there was a
Maybe not the same melody, but you know what I mean. It has that certain grit, but just at the end. I think it works both ways.
I think there was a part of me that when we got to the end of Nocturne, there was a part of me which was because okay, so I think I said this at the time. As someone who's doing a reaction, but I can't help it. I am a Trident fan. I want this to be good. There's a part of me which, when that song started up, I was like thinking, well, look, this is kind of like a big fu who to people who say that like Trident can't do raw music. I was like, okay, well, here you're going to get a straight pop punk song that'll teach you. And then by the end, I was like, do you know what? No, this is so much better because basically it's like, well, look, we can do a straight raw pop punk song. We're just very much not doing it. It's like we very much had a better idea and we did that instead. It's like we were driving down the highway and someone said Chopin and we went, fuck it. Turn right. Is that meme of this car skidding off the road? It's like
Yeah.
it's the fact that so many other bands would have done that and that they didn't. This is the kind of thing which is why I love this band. Because they're not going to settle for that. So yeah, I think we can basically agree this song is fucking awesome.
Yes, we can.
I'm so glad. I was really worried this would be like your least favorite song or something.
No,
and I'd
no,
have
no,
to cry.
no. Obviously not.
Well, then maybe we should talk about the next song.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about the next one.
It's, Icon was next, wasn't it?
Yes, Icon was the next one.
All right. Thoughts on
So,
Icon?
what do you think?
Oh, I
Which
can
is my least
tell.
favorite? This one or the last one?
Now, I'm very unsure on this because I know we've got a reputation of disagreeing. So, I'll give a quick overview of my thoughts on Icon. I'll be watching your facial expressions very closely as I do so. So, look, Icon was a difficult one because at the time, like the very first few notes, the very first bars of Icon, it started like it was like doing almost a pastiche of this is Trident. Like, this is the most atypical Trident intro, followed by the most atypical Trident verse. It was like, do everything as... It was like, if you take all the Trident songs of old and then just average them out, this is like that for the first few minutes. And then after the first chorus, it goes in the very...
Like, so what do you mean with atypical? Because
Oh, sorry,
the
not
second
atypical,
part of what you
typical.
said.
Sorry, I meant the
Typical,
opposite.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, typical, typical, my bad.
Okay.
So yeah, it was the most typical like example of averaging out everything you'd expect from a Trident intro. Which is not bad, but it felt very much like this doesn't feel like anything new. And then after the first chorus, it went in a different direction, and I felt like it was like playing. It was like someone. All right, so you know, like there's those TV shows where they would get towards the end of a series and they'd run out of a budget. So what they'd do is they'd make a TV show where they would just like show clips of previous episodes. And they would try to work it into the storyline. I felt like that's what this song was. It felt like it was like referencing things from other Trident songs to try and make a new song, but it just didn't. It felt clever. It felt well constructed. It felt interesting, but it didn't feel like it had much identity or impact of its own. It just kind of felt like this is just, yeah, it's good. But it's like, we didn't really have any ideas for this, so we decided to have a little cruise around our back catalogue and pick up some nuts and bolts and construct something a bit weird. I respect it because it's not your normal kind of, like, a lot of other bands would deliver a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus song, and you'd just skip it because you'd be like, oh, it's just that it's not a good song. This one was crazy and interesting, and it kept you interested, which I respect. You know, there's not a boring moment in it. But in the same way that there's not a boring moment in it, there's also never any moment where you're like, hallelujah. It's more, it's kind of like, oh, this is good, and then it ends. That was kind of my feeling with Icon. I wasn't mad on it, but it was not bad. And I get the feeling from your expression that maybe you're going to disagree with
me. I mostly agree, I think.
Okay.
Like, I didn't get the feeling that this was like a throwback necessarily, or like a culmination of their older songs. But like you said, didn't feel like anything too special. And yeah, kind of had that more similar vibe that I think I'm used to from Advanced Generation, which just, yeah, kind of like you said, it had less surprising, less interesting elements than some of the other songs, which doesn't mean it's a bad song. But yeah, it is my least favorite from this album, which still doesn't mean it's a bad song, but it means all the other songs are better and more interesting to my ears, at least.
Benedikt,
so yes,
we're in dangerous territory here. So far, we've agreed on 4 songs. I don't know what's going on here, all right? And to be very careful. One of 2 things is going to happen after this. Either I'm going to get really into Scream music, or you're going to find yourself suddenly struggling with it. I don't know, but something weird's going on here. Trident have truly brought us together. Yeah, I guess the thing is that this is one of those songs where if this was like the first song we were hearing from some brand new band, we would be like, oh, all right. We'd be like really interested. But I think Trident have now been around long enough and have enough songs that this is one where we go, look, it's great, but by your standards, you've set the bar too high. This song is good. And it's fine to have one song which is only good on an album, but it is only good.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I think it's just kind of, it's the one song which is not bad. And I think the main thing, it's not boring, so at least it's not a skipper, but it's just not the highlight of the album in any way compared to the songs around.
The least special, or like you said, the one with the least identity.
Tyler, when you said that the least special, it's like those polite ways they try and tell parents that their kids are stupid. It's like, your kid is minimally exceptional. Your child is minimally exceptional. This song is minimally wonderful.
Even the greatest album in the world will still have a worst song.
But I think there is also something to be said for the fact that, I mean, all of my favorite bands tend to have all of the bands who I would say I think are objectively brilliant. They all have really appalling songs because if you're genuinely pushing any form of boundary, you're going to have some fuck ups. I mean, look at the Beatles. The Beatles have some of the best songs ever written. They also have some of the worst. Queen have some truly terrible songs, but they're also a really, really fascinating band who push the boundaries a lot. So I think bands who are doing something interesting, they earn the right to do songs that are not not everything has to be amazing because you go, well, look, at least you try things. So I think you earn that right.
I mean, I totally agree. It would be something different if they would release a mini album with like 5 songs just like that. Then I would say, that's kind of not really what I want from TRiDENT. But like one song like this, absolutely fine.
I am interested to get your overview on the album. So what we'll do is, first of all, let's talk about Be With You. Let's get this one on there as well. So Be With You. This was a song that I first heard when they premiered it live, which was just like the best experience when I was there and they were like, we're going to play a new song. I'm like, fucking yeah. I did not lose my shit, I promise. I mean, yeah, so this was a really cool one to hear live. And I was really intrigued when it was like a more of a mid-tempo song. So I want to get your opinions on Be With You. What did you think about this one?
I would put this like for my personal enjoyment on the same level as Bite the Bullet. Not on a level as intricate as Spice or Nocturne, but it's still a really great song, and I really enjoy the vocal part in that song. Mm-hmm. Vocals really made that song for me. Love the, how do you say it? It's more dynamic, like hers also sometimes moving in between chest and head voice, things like that I really enjoy because it just adds to diversity in the sound. And it's not always, the same kind of voice tone, but it's moving around. And that really, brought up the song for me more than Icon, for example.
I'm kind of, it doesn't do so many things, but the things it does very well. I agree about the vocal. I think that Asaka gets a really good vocal workout on this song. I think it's very emotionally effective as well. Like TRiDENT aren't like we're one of those bands who like their emotional range. They do very good emotional songs, but they tend to have a very specific emotional range. Whereas this song did feel a little bit more nostalgic than I think some of their other songs. There was a feeling that it was a little bit more delicate in places. I do think it was actually, it's weird because it works its way back round to being a TRiDENT rock song. Yeah, I mean it finds its way back to being very TRiDENT, but there are definite flashes of, in the variation, like you say, there are flashes of that very delicate side that comes all across in the vocals, and also the drum and bass work is like nicely done. It's kind of got these little subtleties to it as well. It's not an obviously playful song, like as you mentioned with like Spice and Nocturne, but it's a song that has like the delicate subtleties thrown in there, and it does feel like it has meaning. I think I mean more than a single, it feels like a song that is just a very good way of wrapping up the album. It feels like a nice final song.
Thought it was a nice outro. Even though I'm not sure if you really need intro and outro on a mini album. That's why I want to get into that maybe, because 5 songs, then you only have 3 normal songs.
Well, okay, let's slightly break into this, because when it comes to mini album, I mean, I did a video very recently of talking about like, do we need mini albums? So I kind of like expressed a lot of thoughts on that. I would say though, the whole reason why a mini album is not an EP, and this is one of the things I covered, is whereas an EP can be any form of collection of songs that sort of bridges that gap between a single and an album, a mini album really must feel like it was constructed to be an album. So however short it is, it must have a beginning and an end and some kind of journey, even if it's much more contained.
Is that really do you really get that same vibe from mini albums than other albums? Because to me, still mini albums, they are kind of coherent, yes, more than some EPs that are just random songs. But I would still say I don't get the same like intense vibe or whatever feeling they want to convey here in this mini album compared to some albums they absolutely nailed down their identity, or however you want to say that.
I can't deny that, but I would perhaps counter that by saying that there is the same problems work in reverse, however you look at it. So let me give an example. With a mini album compared to an album, for every mini album that feels like it doesn't have enough time to give across the feeling,
That's maybe it.
But for every mini album that feels like it doesn't have enough time to express everything at once, there is an album that feels like it spends too long trying to make a point that could have been said quicker and has filler in it. For every mini album, for every mini album that feels like the songs aren't cohesive, there's a full-length album that feels like it's just a bunch of singles thrown together. I think that
yes,
it's not. I mean, we can more look at the mini album because it is comparatively, and with that terminology, is the more modern, the more recent phenomenon. But I think mini albums are just presenting a mirror to the albums that we were getting anyway. I don't think they're creating any new problems so much as just like providing an interesting opposing approach. They are definitely a symptom of the world we live in now. You know, people want things quicker. There's more options of bands to listen to, so you can't take 2 years to have a major release. You've got to release things at least once every year. You've got to be touring because gigs are how bands make money, because physical media doesn't make money for bands anymore. Even in Japan, it's not that much. So, you know, I mean, there is pressure to be producing albums quickly, consistently, and I think a mini album gives bands the chance to produce something that still has a narrative, a feeling, but without the pressure of time. So I guess
I do agree with like almost all of that, but I still think, especially regarding these TRiDENT mini albums, it would still be possible to like even focus down more on the thing, like on the theme or whatever. I think they're choosing deliberately not to do that, but yeah, I would kind of wish for that. You know, if you just do 5 songs, really go for it, I would say. You know, then do an album which just has songs like, do a mini album which just has songs like Spice. I know I said before that might be not the best, but I kind of want to hear it. I kind of think I would like mini albums more if they would go into that theme even heavier.
So is your feeling that your preference for a full-length album is because, and sorry if I'm like asking you to explain something you've already said, is your preference for a full-length album more because you want to hear an album that can express a feeling through more different types of songs, or is it that you want them to take an idea that they showed in one song and do more songs like that so that they can really lean into a sound?
No, more the first one.
Okay, that I was kind of hoping. I was kind of hoping that's what you meant.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. It's just,
but I think it comes down to that what you said before, that there's just not enough time maybe for 5 songs to explore it enough. You know. That's why I'm leaning more towards albums.
Well, we got mini albums and albums. Now what we need to have is mid albums that are like 8 tracks long. I
mean, there are albums, just 8 tracks.
Yeah, they're usually long tracks or by albums who are assholes. So it's 8 tracks. These are the 8 best tracks we've ever had. For me,
don't mention any bands now.
No, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. No, and to be honest, the term, I mentioned this in my video as well, the terminology for album has varied so much over the last few decades anyway, that there's actually a lot of, it really depends on when you grew up, what you think these terms mean at all anyway. But I kind of agree. I mean, I must admit, when I first looked at the Spice X playlist, my first feeling was only 5. I was expecting 6. So I kind of, in my head, I think...
Don't they always have 5?
I don't know. I think of mini albums as being 6, and you're going to have to forgive me here. I actually can't remember the exact track list of the
DX and Dream Up also have 5.
You might be right, actually.
Let me check. Yes, Dream Up has 5. DX has also 5.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones where I think in my head, this might be more TRiDENT. Yeah, they TRiDENT do 5. I mean, so a lot of bands, usually a mini album is actually 6. So it's probably more that TRiDENT keep on doing these 5-track ones. But TRiDENT also released theirs much more rapidly than other bands. So I think...
Yeah, I was surprised actually that we already get another one.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was actually, like, Dream Up came out, and, like, Dream Up was just out, and I was fucking like, make a music video for Twinkle right now. I want a Twinkle music video. You must give me a Twinkle music video. And then they had a music video come out. I was like, here comes Twinkle. So what the fuck is Bite the Bullet? It's like, it's a single off your new album. What the fuck is going on? You're still touring for Dream Up. It's like, I'm so confused. So their turnover rate is way too fast. And yeah,
too fast.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
It's fast.
Their turnover is too fast. I would be happy.
Okay, yeah.
I would be happy to wait 2 months more for each mini album just to get a 6th song or something so they can expand upon the ideas. So I do think that maybe TRiDENT's mini albums are a little bit too brief, but I still must give them credit. I mean, like,
well, I'm actually not sure.
Spice X was a journey, though. It was a journey.
Yeah. And I think Dream Up was as well. So
yeah.
I'm not really sure if I would prefer it any other way. It's maybe just in my head that I think could work better another way. But
Benedikt, make your mind up!
No, but I think I can, what's the English word? If you don't need something necessarily and you can leave it out, how do you say that?
We say take it or leave it a lot of the time, but I'm trying to... You probably think of a specific piece of vocabulary that isn't coming to me.
Like,
I'm thinking complacency, like being complacent about something. I don't know, maybe not.
Something like that. Anyway,
our language is stupid. Don't worry.
But I think I don't really need anything else. I think if they have this kind of fast-paced release cycle, then yeah, just give me the next thing, and that's fine. I don't really think it would work better if they like prolong it and then add 1 or 2 more songs.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one follow-up question because I mean, again, I say this as someone who's a TRiDENT fan, but I do think it's important to push these particular issues. So the one thing I said about mini albums, when it's more specifically when I did my video about mini albums, is I said, if you think about it commercially, the most commercially viable thing for a band to do would be not release albums at all and just release a slew of singles, a single every month, and just keep that going. That would be the commercially viable approach. But I think the reason why mini albums are so important is because, first of all, they're more an event. They got a little bit of that album feeling of being an event. Mm-hmm. And the other factor as well is that if you just released one single, if you did one song that was different from your rest, people would think, oh my God, are they changing? So a mini album gives you the chance to put something that is just not you. Something a bit different. This is why I'm so delighted that we get stuff like Nocturne, that we get these playful things. Now, TRiDENT, as I say, have been one of the things I love about them. I put songwriting above musicianship, and as great as their musicianship is, their songwriting is beautiful. Their songs are always varied, but I've noticed that maybe just because they're still quite new, still quite young, their songs are all basically rock, though. They've never quite been able to go enough fuck you to like jump out and just like, here's an acoustic song. Yeah, and I think with like their sheer musical talent, Asaka's vocals, like Nagisa's playing and Serena on bass, they could easily throw in something totally out of expectation. And I wonder if people feel more comfortable doing that when they release longer albums, because if you've got a longer album, it's more offset by the other content. But where you're regularly releasing albums with only 5 tracks, that maybe you would feel less comfortable going totally outside of your comfort zone. Do you think there's a possibility of that?
I totally see that point, but I would then say just instead do another 5-song mini album just with acoustic songs.
That's some big balls. That's a big balls move, Benedikt.
Yeah, but if you go for it, then go for it.
That's taking what I was saying about if you only released singles, every single is the thing you're judged on, and you just went, fuck it, I'm releasing a whole album. I'm doing a fucking country album. TRiDENT goes bluegrass. So yeah, get me my
you can call it a concept mini album, whatever.
We've turned from TRiDENT into Pitchfork. Let's go. Gardening
No,
rake.
but yeah, I have the same sentiments. Like if it's between just singles or mini albums instead of albums, then I also chose mini albums, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, another thing I said when I did this video like the other day is that actually, whereas I was a bit cautious about mini albums when they first started up here, and I think to be honest, I think the terminology actually it was coming out in Japan as well, but I think the terminology gained traction quicker in Korea through K-pop. And I was a little bit worried whether it was a cynical cash grab technique, but the more I've heard more mini albums, I gotta be honest, there's some really great ones. I mean, like Band-Maid with Unleash, it was very much yeah, okay, there were a lot of songs on there that had a very similar sound, but it was very complete. Like the first track was an intro. You know, it had a fucking intro. It played through. It had an ending. Was it my favorite Band-Maid release?
Me, it's
No.
just a album. That's
But
a little bit shorter.
But if like Unleash had been 12 tracks of that, it would have been kind of exhausting by the end. You'd have been like, okay, I mean,
Yeah, true.
and you know,
But I mean, maybe those songs would have sounded different then.
yeah, but Band-Maid have a habit of keeping their weird stuff off the albums. I mean, like Start Over, not on an album. About Us, not on an album. Memorable, not on an album. Page on an album, right at the front. But other than that,
Giovanni on an album.
Which one?
Black Hole on an album.
Black Hole. Yeah, but come on, like no one's gonna be
It's
like
pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, but okay, let's be clear, right? We should be clear about this. When you're worried about your fans are never your fans are going to go, what's this acoustic stuff? Your fans are never going to go, that was too heavy, don't put heavy songs in the album. No fan has ever backlashed because you've been too heavy. People don't do that.
I don't necessarily agree. Imagine they would release a new album and it would like be metal. Fans wouldn't like that.
Depends
and exactly for the reason that it goes too heavy.
Depends what your definition, because a lot of the people I heard raving about Spoopy when it came out, they were like, oh, TRiDENT's kind of doing metal. And, you know, a lot of people saw the metal comparison and got really into it. And I think that's one of the reasons why Spoopy took off so much is because it was the heaviest song they did by, you know, most ears.
I would call TRiDENT a more experimental group than Band-Maid in general.
I do agree. Well, it's interesting. I would say that I agree.
Well, yeah.
But
like the last couple of releases, not really.
Well, Band-Maid seem to be very comfortable in their space, but they are also a band who, when they go out there, they really go out there. I mean, like I say, so they're more crazy songs like Memorable. That's something that a lot of other rock bands would not touch with fucking 10-foot barge pole. And like Band-Maid, like, we're going to release it. So I think that Band-Maid are comfortable going really out there, but it's always a statement. So I think maybe that's the thing. I think like
they also have an acoustic album. Yeah, well, kind of.
They had to work up to it. Their fans had to soften up and say yes to a lot of acoustic songs before they got into that. But I think that's the thing. I think TRiDENT are so good at what they do that they should just throw something at us and go, this is not what you expected. Maybe do it for April 1st one year. This is something really insane we decided to do. And then, I mean, if you follow like Nagisa are special, but any of their social medias, they're all like always uploading videos of them covering other people's songs. Like there's one of like Nagisa and Serena covering Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars and can't remember the name who actually did the original tune, but yeah, covering that. And yeah, they just play around with all these songs and you just know that they would be down to do something insane. So I think that's the only thing I'd say. Between all of this, we need to hear the occasional absolute batshit crazy song just to shake us up a bit.
I think that's a nice sentence to end this episode.
I agree. We've gone way over.
Still other episode. Yeah, we already waffled for quite a while.
When you say waffle, I know you're talking about me. It's like, we're not on the free version of Zoom today. Free version of Zoom. So as a result, yeah. Anyway,
he has unlimited waffling time, so I need to cut him off sometime.
It's like Hotel California for fucking interviews that Benedikt never gets to leave. He can sign out, but he never gets to leave. All right, so on that note.
Yeah, but like overall, I would say I really enjoy Spice X and really let us know about the Powerpuff Girls reference. I mean, they are starting out with that, but I don't know. Maybe lyrically, I haven't read the translated lyrics. Maybe are there more like connections to that? Let us know all about it and what you think of TRiDENT's new mini album, Spice X.
Fuck yeah. We should dive into it. You should do
Oh,
the
what?
outro. You did the intro. I'm gonna let you do the outro.
I wanted to let you do it.
No, man, you got this. You got this. I think you're finally ascending to the ranks.
I'm giving my best. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and keep your ears to the east. You need to stop.
Yeah, I actually just realized it's me this time.